Vanguard just launched a brand new global fund called VALL, and the internet lost its mind because it's cheaper than the fund half of you already own, the famous All World. And when I actually did the maths on the saving on a normal pot, it came out at about £7 a year per 10 grand. £7. That's a meal deal and a coffee. So before you sell everything and switch on Monday morning, let's talk about whether this shiny new thing is actually worth it. Because honestly, I don't think it is, not yet. Just a quick reminder, nothing in this video is financial advice, it's purely for educational purposes, and you should always do your own research before making any financial decisions. And look, if you want the plain English version of stuff like this every week, no jargon, no hype, just the real numbers, subscribe, because that's the whole point of this channel. Right, let's get into it. So, what even is VALL? It's a new Vanguard fund listed on the London Exchange in August. One fund, the whole world of shares. It tracks something called the Global All Cap Index. And the headline everyone jumped on is the fee, 0.07% a year. That is genuinely tiny. It's one of the cheapest ways a UK investor has ever been able to own the entire planet in a single line on their screen. Now compare that to the fund most of you hold, the Vanguard All World, VWRP. For years that charged around 0.22%, and Vanguard just cut it to 0.14. So the new fund is half the price. 0.07 versus 0.14. That sounds massive when you say it as a percentage. Half price. Who says no to half price? But here's where you have to stop and think like an investor instead of a shopper, because a percentage hides the actual pounds, and the pounds are what land in your account. 0.07% is the gap between the two funds. On £10,000 invested, that gap is £7 a year. On 50 grand, it's £35. On 100 grand, it's £70 a year. So, realistically, for a lot of you, we're talking the price of a takeaway. Once a year. That's the first thing nobody's saying out loud. The saving is real, but it's small. Here's the second thing, and this one actually matters more. VALL is brand new. It's got no track record, zero. It launched a few weeks ago. We have never seen it run through a proper wobble in the market. We don't know how closely it'll shadow its index over time. We don't know how tight the buying and selling prices will be, and we don't know how much money is going to flow into it. And that last one is the bit people forget. When a fund is new and small, two things can go wrong. One, the gap between the buy price and the sell price, the spread, tends to be wider. And that spread is a real cost every time you trade. It can quietly eat the very £7 you were trying to save. And two, if a new fund doesn't pull in enough money, providers sometimes just close it. They merge it or wind it down. It doesn't happen often with Vanguard, and it's not a de-asusta, but it can force you to sell at a time you didn't choose. Outside an IC, that could even mean a tax bill you didn't plan for. So, you'd be taking on a brand new, unproven fund with thinner trading and a small chance of hassle down the line to save the price of a Nando's. That trade doesn't sit right with me. And there's a third thing, which is the sneaky one. Everyone's calling VALL a cheaper version of the All World. It's not the same fund. The All World holds about 3,500 of the world's big and medium companies. VALL holds around 10,000 because it also adds small companies, small caps. That's not a downgrade. Some of you might actively want that extra spread, but it means you're not swapping like for like. You're changing what you own slightly. And small companies bounce around a bit more. So it's the same thing but cheaper just isn't true. It's a different tool. Now, I know, over 30 years on a big pot, that fee gap can compound into a few £1,000s. I ran it. $250 a month for 30 years and the cheaper fee comes out a few grand ahead. That's real. I'm not pretending fees don't matter. They absolutely do. Vanguard built its whole empire on that idea, and they're right. But that number only shows up if the two funds perform identically for 3 decades. And that is exactly the thing we cannot know about a fund that's 3 weeks old. You'd be locking in a certain tiny saving in exchange for a big, uncertain bet. That's backwards. And this is where the athlete brain kicks in for me. Marginal gains are brilliant, but only once the big stuff is nailed. No sprinter buys the £200 carbon shoes and then skips training. The shoes are the last 1%. The training is the 99. And chasing a 0.07% fee while you've maybe not filled your ISA, or you're not investing enough each month, or you panic sell when the market dips. That's polishing the shoes and skipping the run. You're optimizing the rounding error and ignoring the main event. Your wealth is not won or lost on £7 a year. It's won on how much you put in and whether you leave it alone for 20 years. That's the whole game. Everything else is noise wearing a spreadsheet. So here's what I'd actually do. If you already own the all world, do nothing. It just got cheaper anyway. It's got hundreds of billions behind it. It trades tightly and it's proven. Sit tight. If you're brand new and choosing today, the all world is still the boring, safe, sensible default. And boring is a compliment in investing. And VL? Put it on a watch list. Give it 12 to 18 months. Let it build a track record. Let the money flow in. Let the spreads tighten. If by this time next year it's proven itself and it still fits what you want to own, then look again, calmly, with actual data. It'll still be there. Cheap funds don't get less cheap by waiting. New and cheap will always feel exciting. But the investors who win aren't the ones chasing the newest thing. They're the ones who picked something solid and had the discipline to be boring for a decade. If you have made it this far, thank you genuinely, and I'll see you in the next one.